Good morning. Are your eyes old? You know, they tell me that the older you get, your brain starts telling your eyes what it's going to see before you actually open them and see it. I mean, I've been guilty. I place my keys at a particular place on a bedside stand, and I'll go in there and I'll just sort of go, where are my keys? And they may be right in front of me, but I can't see them because they're not in the exact spot that they were before. Old eyes are this condition that you can have at 9 or 90, that your brain is pre-telling you what it is you're going to see, and you only see what is right there. Old eyes. Old eyes. Old eyes are a problem all over the world. Jews look at Palestinians, and Palestinians look at Jews, and all they see is enemy. Democrats look at Republicans, and Republicans look at Democrats, and all they see is obstacle. Husbands look at wives, and, well, she's like that. And wives look at husbands, and, well, he's like this. You go to school, and one kid looks at another kid, and all they see is the label that is there, not the person that is behind it. Old eyes. Business competitors look at one another, and all they see is cutthroat competition. It's this kind of world where we learn to pre-see what we think we're going to see, and these old eyes of ours sometimes cannot behold what is right in front of us in that moment. The rich look at the poor and see lazy. The poor look at the rich and see lucky. Truth is, old eyes are a problem in front of the bathroom mirror. Some of us see a whole lot more than we should because of an inflated ego. And others of us see a whole lot less than we should because of low self-esteem. Old eyes are a problem all over the world. Now, the truth is, you're about ready to push back a little bit on me on this. Because the truth is, what we have seen before is a really good indicator of what we will see again. Old dogs rarely learn new tricks. Leopards don't change their spots. We human beings are habitual creatures that do the same things over and over again. So past performance is a great indicator of future performance. That's just the way the world is. And the whole idea that our eyes kind of pre-see and pre-think, I mean, it just makes a lot of sense. I get it. I really get it. Because this old dying world of ours just keeps repeating the same old thing over and over again, and our eyes become very accustomed to seeing what they expect to see. I get that. But there's this story in Luke 24. It's the story of a couple. They used to have old eyes, but they've been given new eyes because they're followers of Jesus. They've been traipsing around behind Jesus wherever he would go, seeing the kinds of things that he does. And so they've been following this Jesus, and their eyes, I mean, they've seen a leper's sores go away. They've seen a little dead girl get up and walk again. They've seen a multitude fed with a kid's box lunch. They have seen an adulterous woman walk away forgiven. They've seen a tax collector be invited to the home of a religious leader and treated with grace and hospitality. I mean, they have seen all kind of stuff. They've seen a three-day-old dead man named Lazarus walk out of a grave. I mean, they've seen this stuff. And now their eyes are conditioned to see almost anything that God might be trying to do in this world that they live in. I mean, they've got these eyes. But they go to Jerusalem on a particular weekend. We would know it as Crucifixion Weekend. They had gone there in the hopes of seeing a coronation of a Messiah, this Jesus they had been following. But boy, have they been disappointed. Rather than a coronation, they have beheld a crucifixion with their old eyes. And all of the hopes that they had have been dashed. And all of the dreams that were born in them from what they had seen are gone. And now they've seen the crucified Jesus, and they've got their old eyes back again, courtesy of a cruel crucifixion, which tells them if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. And so, after this weekend, they look at one another, Mr. and Mrs. Cleophas, we'll call them, and they say, let's go home. And so they do. And so they began to head back home. And we'll pick up the story here in Luke 24, verse 13. And it goes kind of like this. Now, on that same day, two of them, Mr. and Mrs. Cleophas, were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. And they're talking with each other about all these things that had happened in Jerusalem that weekend. And while they were talking and discussing, Jesus himself came near and went with them. But their eyes were kept from recognizing him. Now, that's an interesting line to me. What does that mean? Their eyes are kept from recognizing him. The Jesus that they have seen crucified, dead, and buried in Jerusalem that weekend, I mean, he's in a tomb as far as their brains know. There's no way in the world their brains are telling the eyes, expect to see him out there on the road somewhere. And so here they are going along, and he's walking with them, and they don't even know that it's him. Their eyes were kept from recognizing him. I wish Luke would tell us how that happens. I mean, what is it? Is Jesus sort of walking along and he's got his hands in a robe pocket or something and they can't see the scars that are there? Is he wearing a tunic that's so long that it covers the wounds on his feet? Does he have a hood on so that they can't see where the thorns were pressed into his head? Is it possible that crucifixion has so disfigured Jesus that he's not recognizable anymore? Or is it simply the fact that Mr. and Mrs. Cleophas are blinded by their grief? They just can't bring their eyes to see what is right there in front of them. It doesn't tell us. All it says is their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And then I think this is kind of humorous to me, this next section. They start this conversation with Jesus. It goes like this. So Jesus comes and he's walking along with them, and he says to them, "What are you discussing with each other while you're walking along?" And they stood still. They kind of stopped on the road looking sad. And then one of them, whose name was Cleophas, answered him, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know the things that have happened there in these days?" And Jesus said to them, "What things?" I love this. I love the humor of this. You know, they're saying to Jesus, don't you know what just happened in Jerusalem? The Messiah was crucified, the one we put our hope in and everything. And so they began explaining Jesus to Jesus. They began telling Jesus what happened to Jesus. Now, this is where I'm convinced that the two on the road to Emmaus are a husband and wife, Mr. and Mrs. Cleophas. Because the way that these next verses read, you can just read into it how it's a husband and wife who are finishing each other's sentences. They are interrupting one another. And so they begin to explain Jesus to Jesus like this. "What things are you talking about?" Jesus says. And they said, "The things about Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and the people." And the other one interrupts and says, "And how our chief priests and leaders handed him over to be condemned to death and crucified him." And then the other one interrupts and says, "But we had hoped that he was the one who would redeem Israel." Then that one interrupts the other one and says, "Yes, and besides all this, it's now the third day since these things took place." Then the other one interrupts and says, "Moreover, some women of our group astounded us. They were at the tomb early this morning, and when they didn't find his body there, they came back and told us that they had indeed seen a vision of angels who said he was alive." Then the other one interrupts and says, "And some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but they did not see him." So here they are, this couple, and they're walking along, and they're explaining all of this stuff to Jesus, not having recognized him in every way. And you hear within them hope that turned into sadness, and now is explaining how their hope turned into sadness and has left them in despair with all of this. And then Jesus said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are." I don't think he said it in a shaming way. I think he was just saying, you don't get it, do you? And how slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have declared. And then Jesus says this, "Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer all of these things and then enter into his glory?" And then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, Jesus interpreted to them the things about himself in all of the Scriptures. So I asked myself, why didn't they get it? Why didn't they understand that this crucifixion they had seen was a part of what God was doing? I think they were reading from the wrong script. Their script went like this: Messiah comes, Messiah conquers, Messiah reigns. Messiah comes, Messiah conquers, Messiah reigns. That was the script that they were playing from, and they went to Jerusalem, and all of a sudden, suffering is introduced into the script. And there was no place for that in their story. It was not a part of the story that they were living out. And I mean, when you have seen little dead girls get up and 3-day-old dead men walk out of the tomb, and you've seen blind eyes open, and you've seen leper spots disappear, when you've seen that kind of stuff, suffering doesn't seem to fit in the particular story that you're living out. Their problem was their script had no place for suffering in it. And here comes Jesus saying to them, was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer and then enter into his glory? And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he started explaining to them how everyone had said that about the work of the Messiah before. You see, we don't want suffering in our script either. We really don't. I mean, we're going along, we got life by the tail, something bad happens, and immediately we go, God, what's this? What is this doing here? God, make this go away. Please stop this. Enough of this. This is messing up my walk with you. This is hard. I don't want to do this. Take this away and we'll get on down the road. I had someone say to me one time, I'm trying to follow Jesus, but all this suffering is in the way. And I replied to them, this suffering is the way of Jesus. This is the way of, it's a part of our script. And so when they saw that crucifixion weekend occur, there was no way that could fit within their story of God to know and understand that this is the way that God does what God does. We struggle in these ways and tell God, make all this go away. And could it be in our lives who've gathered here today, with suffering going on in our personal lives, suffering going on in some bodies that are here today, mental suffering going on for some of you, suffering of, wow, I'm going to graduate here in just a few weeks, and what in the world am I going to do next? Suffering of employment that has been on the verge where you work, suffering for a culture that does not recognize the values that you hold dear in your Christian faith, suffering for a political world that is a mess right now, suffering for a global world where we just wait for the next news that another bomb went off and 14 more people died. Is it possible that we see that stuff so often that our eyes expect only to see more of the same, and that when we walk the road that we walk today, we cannot recognize the Christ who comes and walks right alongside of us, that he is there, but our eyes are kept from seeing him and recognizing him? I love what happens. It says, as they came near, as Mr. and Mrs. Cleophas are getting close to home, as they came near to the village where they were staying, Jesus walked ahead as if he were going on, and they urged him strongly, saying, stay with us, come stay with us. So he went in to stay with them, and when he was at the table with them, he took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them. And then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. I love that. What happened there? Did his hands come out of his pockets and reach out there to break the bread, and suddenly they see the nail holes? Did his feet poke off the end of a recliner or out of underneath the table, and they saw the wounds? Did he flip the hood back and they saw the scars there in his head? What was it? Or did they just see the breaking of that bread, the same breaking of the bread that they had seen him do so many times before to feed the multitudes? I don't know. It just says, and then their eyes were opened. Now, right here is where I'm very tempted to like turn into a moralistic kind of preacher. This is where I'm tempted to start saying, okay, now here's 3 secrets for how you can get your eyes open. Here's 4 points. Here's 5 principles. And if you'll do what I'm about to tell you to do, now write this stuff down. I mean, get a hold of it. Number it 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number this, and then you go out and you do this in your eyes. This is what makes us preachers feel like we're important and wise and all powerful. That we can just tell you how to solve every problem that you have. So, you want to know how you get new eyes? I don't know. It doesn't tell us how. Which suggests to me that new eyes are a gift. A gift. It doesn't say Mr. and Mrs. Cleophas opened their eyes. It says, and then, in that moment, when the Christ who was present with them in suffering broke the bread, something of a gift occurred in that very moment. And their eyes were opened in a way to recognize that Jesus was with them and had been with them all along. I love how it goes from there. So then they said to one another, wow, I mean, Jesus has vanished. And now the 2 of them are left to do sort of the post-op conversation about, what just happened here? And they say to one another, wow, were not our hearts burning within us while he was out there talking to us on the road and while he was opening the scriptures to us? And that same hour, they got up and returned to Jerusalem. I mean, they had just walked the 7 miles from Jerusalem. Here they go back another 7 miles. I'm guessing they went back faster than they had walked home. They returned to Jerusalem, and they found the 11 and their companions gathered together, and they were saying, the Lord is risen indeed, and he has appeared to Simon. And then they told, Mr. and Mrs. C told, what had happened to them out on the road, and how he had been made known to them in the breaking of the bread. The new eyes that come. New eyes. New eyes. Do you remember, I mean, some of you aren't old enough to remember this, but maybe you've seen it anyway. You remember a couple of decades ago that they had these things called magic eyes pictures? I mean, how do you remember that? A handful. Well, let me explain it to you. It's like there's a picture that's here, and it's like all kind of squiggly lines and all kind of patterns and everything. And if you look at it just right, it's like a 3D image sort of rises out of that, and you can see it. So, I mean, it's just a flat page, but it's like there's things buried in it, like coins, that all of a sudden you see coins, or a pyramid might be in there. And if you look at it just right, you can sort of see it. It really plays tricks with your eyes to do that. Well, when those first came out, friends of Denise and I, Marty and Ruth, had picked up one of these pictures. And they were coming through the town where we were staying, were spending the night with us. And so they came in with one of these pictures, and it was kind of a novel thing at that point. And they sort of sat it on the fireplace and said, what do you see? And so I remember the picture well. It was this picture, blue sky, and here's an ocean with a couple of little islands and palm trees popping up, and that was it. I mean, that's just kind of it. I said, what do you see? And, I'm looking at it, I'm going, sky, water, islands, palm trees. And I'd say, no, look at the water. Look carefully at the water. And so I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the water. I don't see anything. But Denise says, oh, dolphins. Look, there's 2 dolphins. There's one right there and there's one right there. And I'm going, what? Dolphins? I don't see dolphins. It's just water. She said, no, look at it. It's something. So we called Amy and Ashley, our daughters, over. So they came over. And they looked, and they looked for a minute and said, oh, yeah, look, there's dolphins right there. That's really cool how that does that. And I'm going, dolphins? So it's about this time that I'm thinking, I know what's going on here. Marty and Ruth have called ahead, said to Denise, we're bringing a picture in. There's going to be dolphins in the water. Everybody tell Dan there's dolphins there in the water, and we're going to pull one over on the old guy. So they're doing that. I'm not seeing, so they start coaching me. They say, look through the picture. Just look through the picture. And the dolphin, so I'm looking through the picture, nothing. And they said, okay, hold it up to your nose and then slowly move it back. And, I'm trying that. That doesn't work. And then they say, look cross-eyed at it. So no dolphins, no dolphins. And, I'm not, there's no dolphins there. About that time, our youngest daughter, Abby, and her friend from down the street, Danielle, come in the door. And I say, Danielle, come here. Don't anybody say a word. Nobody say anything. Danielle, come here. Look at that picture and tell me what you see. And so she looks at it for about 15 seconds and says, oh, look, there's 2 dolphins right there. So, all day I'm kind of looking at this thing. Marty and Ruth have gone to bed. Denise and our girls are all asleep up, and I'm downstairs in the family room looking through the picture, cross-eyed at the picture, just doing everything I can do. These things became so popular, they're up and down the mall everywhere. So I walk down the mall, and people are standing there looking at these things in store windows and saying, oh, look, there's a pyramid right there. You see that? I don't see that. Look, there's Elvis. Elvis is right there. I don't see Elvis. Elvis is that's the building for all that I can see. And people are seeing these things. They even came out with books of these. Books. The first half of the book had the Magic Ice pictures in it. The second half of the book had the things you were supposed to see in the first half sort of shaded in. So I got the book and I started studying the book. And I look at page 1 and then page 31 and go, okay, and it's right there and I can't see it. I studied the book so much I could tell you what was on every page, but I couldn't see any of it. And then one day I was just sitting there looking at it, and my eyes were open. I saw it. And once I saw that one, I could see that one, and I could see that one, and I can see that one, and I could see that one. It came to me as a gift to be able to see what was there, and I had not recognized before. The good news today is that whatever you're walking through, whatever suffering has come your way, whatever hardship is now yours, God is a God who gives you new eyes to be able to see Jesus with you right in the middle of that. There's nothing you can do. It's something that He will do for you, which means that it is right that we are the worshipers of God together on this day in this place, saying to our God, open our eyes so that we may behold your presence with us every step of this journey that we are on together. And our God is a good God and a good Father, and that God loves to give us new eyes. Amen. Amen. Our worship team is coming at this time, and we're going to sing together a song of praise that allows us to share in just a moment an alabaster offering with a march and just some energy to this. But let us give thanks to our God for the eyes that He gives us to see Jesus with us.